In this video, we're going to talk about alcohols, what they are, and how to name them. So alcohols have the OH group attached to at least one of the carbon atoms in the longest chain. The OH group is called the hydroxyl group. That's a functional group. As soon as you see OH off of something, that immediately tells you that it's an alcohol. Now, when you're naming alcohols, the biggest thing is that the ending becomes OL. So no longer are we going to have ANE, ENE, YNE. Now we change the ending to OL, and that means that we are looking at an alcohol. If the OH group is directly attached to a benzene ring, which remember is your hexagon with double bonds, it's classified as a phenol. This is a functional group, and this is actually the functional group that you saw in the lab that actually turned the salicylic acid purple. That's because the salicylic acid had a phenol functional group. It was an OH group directly attached to a benzene ring. So when we name alcohols, the hydroxyl group is going to take precedence when you're numbering your longest chain. We're going to avoid situations with OH and multiple bonds. We're going to stick to alkanes with an OH group, but the OH group takes precedence. So when you find your longest chain, that OH should have the lowest number possible. So some examples. We have methanol. Okay, so off of methane, one carbon, so CH3OH. Notice carbon still has 4 bonds. CH3OH is your methanol. Ethanol, which we use a lot in lab, has 2 carbons. So CH3, CH2OH. Notice it's still in a straight line. But you could bend it if you wanted. That's still considered a straight chain. 1-propanol. The 1, just like with double and triple bonds, the number in front of the parent chain actually designates where that OH group is. So 1-propanol means that the OH group is off of the first carbon. 2-propanol means that the OH group is off of the second carbon. So there is definitely a difference between 1-propanol and 2-propanol, and it's where that OH group is, and it actually gives these different properties. So what I want you to do is kind of take everything that we've done, and I want you to name the following. So pause the video and see if you can name the following. Okay, so now we're going to look at what the names for all of these compounds are. So if we take a look at number 1. Number 1, this is a benzene ring with an OH group off of it. Now, this is a phenol functional group, right? This is called a phenol functional group, but the name of this is not phenol. Phenol is only when this is attached to something else. So instead, this is benzene, and we have an OH group off of benzene. So just change the ending of benzene to OL, and it becomes benzenol. There's no need for us to put a 1 because it's assumed that this is the number 1 carbon. For number 2, we have a benzene ring with a methyl group off of it. Remember, that is toluene. A benzene ring with a methyl group off of it is toluene. And so we have toluene with an ethyl group off of it. So if this is the number 1, this is the number 2, we would have 2-ethyl toluene. And then number 3, find your parent chain first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so my parent chain is 5 carbons, all single bonds, so it'd be pentane. But we have this OH group, which means it's an alcohol. Remember, alcohol takes precedence, so that means that this carbon needs to be my number 1 carbon. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to have 4-chloro, 1-pentanol. Okay, again, 4-chloro, 1-pentanol. Because we need to know where the OH group is. And then for number 4, this is benzene with a methyl group on one side and a methyl group on the complete opposite side. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4 dimethylbenzene. But remember, there's a shorter way to put it, and that is para-dimethylbenzene. Okay, so we're getting into the much more complicated naming now with aromatics and with alcohols. So take some time, review your notes, review your textbook. That way you can really ask questions in class.